And I don't understand what the problem is with allowing a neutral arbiter based on evidence to determine whether someone is a terrorist or not.
We did put 235 judges, progressive judges, judges not under the control of Trump last year on the bench, and they are ruling against Trump time after time after time. And we hope that the appellate courts, when it gets up there in the Supreme Court, will uphold those rulings.
Allowing a neutral arbiter.
And they are ruling against Trump time after time after time.
A neutral arbiter.
Progressive judges.
All men who are progressive, or males who are progressive, are weak people.
Oh, it feels like forever, doesn't it? Geez, sorry for the slight delay there, and hold on just a second, I gotta finish what I was doing. But how are you all today? I'm doing much better than I was yesterday, and much better than the day before as well. Hopefully that actually ends up making things a little bit more smooth today, because I remember even the last episode where I was back after, gee, who knows how long. It's just becoming a blur too much at this point. It really sucks, but here I am, and screw it. I've basically kind of I've kind of talked about this, but I'm really leaning into it now because it's really until I can really come up with a way or a time that is going to be clear and easy for me to actually make it and make sure it's not going to be much of an issue, then it's going to have to be as soon as I can, which really sucks because I started this show and I was pretty adamant about wanting to be on. And it does also, I haven't really talked about this too much because I didn't realize how much it was going to factor in until I actually started this show. Because to be fair, like as I've mentioned before, the shows I've been doing before have all been more or less around gaming streams and things like that. So there's not really a good or bad time. I mean, gamers are up playing games or doing something at God knows what hour. I mean, they can be up as super late, super early, sometimes anywhere in between. And so game streams kind of don't really have a time when it's when there's a real beneficial hour to play, unless there's some kind of unusual circumstance like a release or something. Now, on the other hand, with something about contemporary events, and especially news-related events or political events of any kind and things like that, if you want to do streams about contemporary stuff, you got to do it at a point where, number one, it's close enough to the event where it's still relevant, and number two, and here's the harder part, during the day, it's going to be at least something that people are going to be able to, whether they're, in a car, commuting, or driving, or at work, or at home, or whatever they may be, as long as they have access to audio, because, when you're doing a political or news and current events like style stream, people are going to obviously fall on the side of both audio and video and want to do whatever is most convenient or is actually going to be able to be possible for someone in that situation. So, and here's where the problem for me kicks in, because being on the west coast of the United States, my time zone is like the furthest behind everybody else. So even on the other side of the United States, it's you know, a good 3 hours, 4 hours even ahead, depending on how far over you're going. But regardless, like even the East Coast itself is like 3 hours. So like for me, it might not be that late, but for someone on the East Coast, 3 hours is still quite a bit of time ahead. So if it's like 2 for me, that's getting into the later evening already by the time I'm halfway through the show. So it's the that's why at the beginning I thought that the timing was more or less a solid time frame to start, and that would be the best time to continue. But there does come another problem with that, which is that other shows that are out there, they don't change their time unless they're live, which a lot of stuff isn't live. Even if they say they're live, a lot of the time it isn't live. But I still, even though I get it, you know, after a lot of other people do, I can still talk about it, but I'm going to have to make sure I get the story, get any clips I want to get, edit them and put them up and get it ready. And if I want it to be something that's going to be a fresh opinion and on a cultural topic that's happening right now, I got to do it like right after that. There's no good chunk of time in between where that'll work. Oh, sorry. Also, we are having a heat wave here, and it really sucks. So I moved my AC back into my room, and it works great. But I just noticed the mic it picks up the background noise. That's why I started it ahead of time, but I just forgot to turn it off until I saw the mic bar moving a little bit from the background noise. So, but with that, I'm going to stop complaining, because actually today is mostly about some pretty good stuff, although cloaked good stuff. And I mean, by that I mean basically that there's some negative events, but they are through the reaction and through the coverage it's getting, it's very apparent to see that people aren't just falling for the same crap that they were falling for a couple of years ago, and you're not going to lie to them and use fear tactics constantly and have it get through. And I don't know how apparent that is to everybody else out there, but I've been seriously finally getting a real good sense that people are not. I'll just put it this way: the Democrats are not getting the kind of harsh blowback or the type of negative gut reaction they're hoping for from even members of their own party in large amount, from the people that they had been attempting to get over to their side several times before, and it's just not working anymore. They've pushed their luck too many times at this point, and even people that were pretty stalwart defenders now, as we'll see in one of the things we're talking about today, which is another big event, but I'll get to that in a second. People who were staunchly anti-Trump and anti-conservative and anti-anything to do with conservative for not just Trump's presidency, but a large chunk into the Biden administration, they, I think, became disillusioned as it got towards the end of the third year, when the border crisis really started hitting its peak, because that was when you saw and this was ingenious, and this is largely to do with governors like Ron DeSantis and Gavin Hot Wheels, according to Jasmine Crockett of shit. Governor Greg Abbott and some of the other Kristi Noem, they were very, very, they accomplished their goal more or less to the best possible extent it could have been accomplished by moving migrants into the sanctuary cities that were up north, because up until then there really wasn't much in the way of tangible, noticeable negative effects, because people just weren't they weren't as directly and immediately feeling the effects of the illegal immigration uh, just surge that the border states were feeling. And then, they started making their way naturally by their, well, mostly by Biden's administration and their efforts to fly them around in the middle of the night to get them to other destinations. Even so, they were careful enough to not overflood a zone with a bunch of people that they had just moved into the country. But when it's arriving by bus in normal hours of the day, when it's out in front of the whole city to see, and there's cameras and people are putting it on television, and it's just like, and everybody can see what's going on. That was when things really started to kind of shift enough to open the door. And when the other thing that did it, of course, was the Mar-a-Lago raid. That one was another significant one, and I'd say the clincher was the two assassination attempts. Which, by the way, there's been some. I'm really kind of hoping that this gives people a good look at what kind of people we're talking about, because I've been seeing clips and just stories with photos and things like that lately of that guy from Florida that was trying to also assassinate Trump before the election, and that was when he was on his golf course. But those two things were a big enough problem. Now I'm noticing that we're seeing this guy getting transferred. I'm sure he's going to have a court date, or at least he's going to have an appearance in court sometime soon, because they're starting to move him to wherever they're going to probably be holding any kind of trial. And what's really interesting and frightening, honestly, to me, is when you see the guy who they arrested, who was in the bushes over there. If you take a look at him and just his face, just his eyes, just the smirk that he has on his face, he's just a frightening looking guy. I mean, the guy looks very what's the word, like discomforting, to say the least, I'd say. Like, just there's something about him that's incredibly uncomfortable, incredibly eerie, and you can, like I said, you can tell by just the look in his eye. And I was watching this interview with from Tucker Carlson with Alex Jones. Which, by the way, if you haven't checked that out yet, it's on Rumble, it's on Tucker's channel. I highly suggest, even if you can't watch, it's a long one, it's over 2 hours long, but if you can't check out the whole thing, I would recommend at least just checking it out from about 2/3 of the way through, and then just catch the last third, because honestly, there's so many important points raised at that injunction, and it goes back to the reason that Alex Jones was essentially put up on a mock trial himself, that was forced to basically lose just about everything he had, and he was accused of having all this money he didn't have. And the way that the quote unquote justice system was operating to essentially take from him everything that could be taken, and the ultimate goal, which he stated and which was kind of obvious, was that they just wanted InfoWars shut down, and they wanted him to no longer have any kind of reach or audience. They didn't want to have him have the ability to speak to any people anymore. Like, that was their biggest goal, even more so than the money, more so than because I mean, this had nothing to do with the Sandy Hook parents. They were used to be the sort of the emotion what's the emotional bait, I guess, is the best way to put it, for anybody that was trying to use a free speech argument, which this had everything to do with someone's right to free speech. The idea that people were, and this is just an accusation that's as old as the internet, and it's one that unfortunately has been given way more legitimacy than it deserves, which is this idea that someone's audience is being instructed by someone to go do something like illegal or disrespectful or harassing or whatever it might be. It's absolutely just a scare tactic, but at the same time, it's their way of trying to get around free speech law. That's really the best way I can describe it, because there's no proof and there's no real way I can see like Alex Jones doing this at all in the first place. I can't see Alex Jones contacting a bunch of people who are all conspiracy nuts and telling them, yeah, this is true, why don't you harass the parents of the victims of the massacre, and as a matter of fact, let's keep harassing them and the rest of the families, and we'll go do something and desecrate the grave sites. And it's like, I mean, really sick shit. But like, just like, and whatever you think about Alex Jones, I don't know how you can rationalize that would be something he would be kind of encouraging. But even if his words that he said were enough to get people to be motivated to action, his words weren't a call to action in the way that you would have to have for kind of getting around free speech law, because that would be incitement, and incitement would be potentially related to a certain, well, let me put it this way, that would be something that is easier to claim and to pretend is a reasonable way to describe Alex's position on conspiracies in general. And he mentioned this a lot when he was first going through the trial, was that this is about wanting to like take the name InfoWars, and he used the analogy of what was it? He used the analogy, yeah, that was of being like, oh damn, I lost it again. Man, I'm having a hard time. Hold on, just a second. Smoke. Man, what was it? It was a really good analogy. I can't remember. I'm losing my train. This wasn't even part of the show for today. I just I watched that. I started watching it really late last night, and then finished watching it this morning, and it was really fascinating. But it was also kind of both a confirmation of everything that I'd been thinking for a little bit, and also a little bit of a warning about what to watch for, which I was not particularly thinking about, but it was something I should have been thinking about, because it's clear that the sort of not just your average Democrat or anti-Trump voter or whatever, not just the average sort of person like that, but the people who have what would be, generally referred to as TDS, but what at this point is going beyond hysteria and moving into full-fledged paranoia and absolute delusion, because it's so incredibly irrational to take a guy who and not just him, but his supporters, and it's like they're all under attack recently, and anybody that votes for him. This all kind of came to a good kind of moment where I recognized how deep it was going when I was talking to a family member yesterday whose friend had been talking to her about some sort of. Now, I don't know anything about this. I don't know whether or not this was happening or not. I just haven't heard anything about it. And when I didn't hear anything about it, and I'm hearing someone from people in the family who I know aren't nearly as up to date on what's going on for in some of the more deeper levels of government and policy, as opposed to people who are just kind of more casual voters that don't really, like, they either vote party lines or they don't ever have any kind of ideological change or questioning to their beliefs at all of any kind. They just they're embedded in that belief, and that's what they're going to stick with. But when I heard that this friend of hers had been talking about, well, if he has this parade, I think the only thing, she might have even said someone in the state that it was going on in, somebody was, they, man, what was it that, how do you describe it? Geez, why am I running into so many, like, I can't think of the words today. And this isn't even all, this isn't at all the subject, but God, why can't I think? I was just thinking about it a second ago, and I'm drawing a blank again. Hold on. Let me get my cigarette. I'm completely. I guess it's probably that multitasking problem I have. As I've said before, I cannot multitask for shit, so it's just not good. But anyway, that's right. Yeah, that's right. So she said she was in favor of this parade, but this was the part where I was like, oh my God. Said only if he's in the parade and he is in a convertible with the top down. And I was like, whoa, okay, now, because and this isn't the first time. She's told me that there's been people in her life who literally are they're among the population that would be like, yeah, it'd be good if he got killed. That never is something I've considered even entertaining. Yeah. Well, anyway, I can't remember what the way, but either way, it's like it's sick. It's sick how many people kind of casually think that it's all right to be like, yeah, I hope the president. Not to mention the method being something like, obviously a reference to JFK, and the idea that this goes into some things that we are going to talk about today, but I'll kind of hint at it by discussing another example with the Luigi Mangione case. That is one of those things where it's like it's amazing how many people have openly excused murder. And why? Because the guy killed a health insurance board member for the company, or it was a board member, I think. But either way, they can justify murder by doing it to someone they find morally reprehensible because I don't know, because they are so completely convinced at this point that something bad's going to happen under Trump, something bad's going to happen with him in office, something bad's coming, it's coming. But that's where the sort of more optimistic point of view for me comes in, is because it's been here's another point where there was a big shift. This whole thing recently with the tariffs and the global trade and the policies he put in place and the effect it had on the stock market, and then the immediate appeals to negotiate from a bunch of our allied countries. It just looks to me like wow. Everybody's been saying how how terrible tariffs are and what they're going to cause more inflation. They're going to cause the most suffering from the middle class well, no, not the upper class. I don't think it's really going to affect them, unless they have like you know, a Tesla probably. Then maybe they have some problems, but that's a different story. But no, it's just it's really unbelievable that that there is what the hell do you call it? Well, anyway, it's just I never would have expected that from a lot of these people, but once again with Trump, everything is totally fair, and you can wish him dead. You can openly wish him dead. You can talk about how he is racist, or he's got a bunch of special interest buddies that are really rich. They're trying to leech off of us. It's like, wait, lease off of us? What are you talking about? And I don't know what they're talking about, to be honest, but I do know that there's not a good message for it. And this goes into this basically goes into the idea that man, I'm losing my train of thought over. Well, it goes into the problem that everybody's going to come out and say right ahead of time that man, this is reckless. This is totally this is just going to be a burden for the middle class and the lower class and blah 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 blah. When the reality is, okay, if you were, and I know maybe this is the biggest problem. Maybe it's because another thing we'll talk about today, we will be touching on the experience with Bill Maher that he had at the White House, and cause I watched a couple videos about it now, and I wasn't super surprised, and yet I still was, because I knew that Trump would be respectful enough of Bill to be able to have a seriously hardline stance on this, like it's got to be this way. It's got to be. It's going to work like this. Those people can't stand to have their predictions not come to fruition, I guess. And this time it was based on the fact that you got this group of nations that are like, yeah, we want to work on getting this back in order, because so many countries still are now they're not facing the same problems we had, especially when it comes to the sort of what do you call it, Jeez, why can't I freaking find the well, anyway, never mind. The point though is that people are not necessarily seeing the big picture when he rolls out something like that, and I can almost guarantee that people have called it a gambit, and people have been calling it a roll of the dice or a flip of a coin, and hoping that hoping you get the result that you absolutely want the most, which is not. It's just not a good sense of getting any kind of real life, real world kind of opinion on what could possibly be achieved by this. Well, what could be achieved is that when we have the rest of the world able to utilize their tariffs against the United States, and and tariffs that are seriously much more much more anyway, they're much more profound and might make it much harder for trade from the United States to them. They absolutely cannot. They can't come out and admit that maybe this was the plan all along. So they refer to it now as him flip flopping on tariffs. I maintain and I suggest that it wasn't flip flopping on tariffs as a matter of fact, it's actually using them unconventionally by using them as a temporary solution to be able to force the nations that we were trading with, that were imposing their high tariffs on us. The only way to get their attention in a significant way and to do it to where well, they do it to where there's going to be some kind of there's going to be some kind of people where they're not going to grasp that very well, but then there's others that are going to understand exactly what it is they're trying to do. They're trying to preempt the potential success that would come from the tariffs, because despite how Trump says he loves tariffs so much, that's just like, once again, Democrats don't seem to have any kind of sense of humor whatsoever. They don't seem to have any kind of feelings of wanting to incorporate things into their own solutions that are going to be looked at and potentially given the level of what it is that someone is trying to accomplish with anything really. As like, there may be ulterior motives. You may be trying to force some kind of settlement, and the only way to do that is to flex your muscles a bit. But I think, honestly, because of the fact that the administration was kind of keeping everybody in the loop by stating that what you're seeing in the man, jeez, now I gotta wait for him to call back. Anyway, like, if you were to set up tariffs with the countries and they come back and they want to negotiate, what did you gain? Well, you gain something much more important than just the tariff taxes that are going to be on their country. You have to look at the person who is doing this, ask, are they successful or not? Are they well liked or not? What is it about her that makes her so compelling? Appealing. There we go. Appealing. So much more dangerous situations and blowing them off, because without getting too philosophical or too hyper focused on one thing above all the others, I think there's an obvious answer to why this was handled the way it was handled, because anyway, okay, never mind. Let's get on with the input. I just had to get that out because it really is like a damned if you do, damned if you don't for Trump. But the good news is the indication. This is why the episode is kind of trying to focus on this, because you wouldn't know it from watching so much media, but these are like far more realistic and mm, uh, hmm. Why the hell did it? Nah, oh well. Anyway, I'm just picking up on a different vibe. I'm totally picking up on a different vibe between people in the country and their um, the way that they are um, kind of. I won't say leading. She's not leading anything, but they still they're still there, and they still have a sort of like concern about well, if you're tearing down our international tariffs over this, then why would you be? Well, okay, unfortunately, I gotta use this to make this work. Um, no, let's see. Well, anyway, I keep saying that and I keep forgetting. But long story short, um, the idea that he's flip flopping because of completely like this massive shift, and that's probably more. Um, that might be even more praise than the situation deserves, but at the same time, um, and I don't. Geez, I can't see all that and be like, yeah, nobody's waking up. Everybody's getting more and more miserable as time goes on because of what's been going on with the White House and blah blah blah. Yeah, what about it? And then they proceed to tell you what they actually do to the fallen, or not the fallen, but what they tend to do with not in the scope, right? Yeah, yeah. Anyway, so it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing, and they keep coming back with something that's exactly one for one sound, and people weren't always completely on board with the idea until, and I was hoping this was going to be the case, but I wasn't going to, hold my breath for a really significant amount of time um, because even if there was some sort of trade victory for us in terms of who we sell and who we buy from, the first ones to step up were the people who are seemingly more or less uh, seemingly more against Dungeons and Dragons. Um, Magic Archer 2. Um, but yeah, uh, it's just something I've noticed, and it's something that kind of proves the point of like there's nothing that the economy could be soaring, and they're still going to be like, well, yeah, but it's not really because of him. It's like, okay, well, what was happening during that entire last administration? Like, it's just it's just so classless and so it just spills over and everybody gets affected by it. Well, not anymore, and now they're getting affected by something a lot more. Um, hmm. Well, anyway, let's get on with the stuff today because, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of trying to think about how to start this, and it's been I kind of took all the subjects I was going to talk about and kind of tried to mash them up, but I'm gonna have to move through them quick, and I keep forgetting that. So let's. Where should we start? Let's see. Because oh, and by the way, yo, what's up, Eddie Madison? How's it going, brother? Um, I guess we could start with because I gotta say I'm gonna be going over some kind of hot button controversial discussions today, and I can't help it. I'm a little pissed off about one of them. The others I'm just kind of stunned by, but luckily for me and for anybody out there that may be listening, I can guarantee you I know the law in these areas, and it does get articulated on a different show, on Megyn Kelly's show, but it's still not completely like yeah, it's not just like constantly checking out. Um, Geez, but the ones that are worth getting into, I want to get into because, um, like I said, um, these are like some pretty big deal subjects, and which, by the way, we can maybe start. This is a good part to start because I actually that intro clip that I had at the beginning there. It took me a while to put that one together, but I heard that during a congressional hearing the other day from Dan Goldman. As a matter of fact, we can play that right now. And this was about a sort of I don't know if it was a bill or if it was a new. I can't remember exactly what it was, but the point of which was to was that it? Was it? Yeah, that was well. Either way, um, so I was watching this hearing, and Marjorie Taylor Greene was introducing some new legislation that was, or I can't remember legislation or what exactly it was, but um, it was a sort of because we need to eventually at some point we're going to need to figure this out, and there's no way we're going to be able to do it without having some kind of census report and having that census report actually and openly for that matter having them report the actual numbers, including how many people are illegally here and how many of them are legal residents. But also, one other one was in that same sort of vein, like how do we get that to work for this situation when it's nearly impossible at this point, ever since the rules were changed under Obama, to not have your geez, like yeah, that must have been it because well, that's not the higher point. The higher point was just that the court cases that are that were going on, and this goes back to the court cases around Trump for the things that had come up most recently, where what's the name of that stupid judge that was overseeing the case in what was it, New York, or was it somewhere else? Oh, that's right, it wasn't anywhere else. I remember now, but what was it that he said back in return? I just remember it was on. That's right, it was on. I can't remember whose show it was. He was talking to Mel Gibson about this whole thing, but somebody brought this up, and I was glad Marjorie Taylor Greene brought it up, and the chairman for the committee brought it up as well. But it was basically a way to kind of get your foot in the door and get the policy and at least the discussion of the policy started, because very few people have even gone that much into detail. But it was to more than virtually anything else. It was meant as a man. I guess I don't. Hmm, hmm, hmm. It's he give me a completely confusing time. But anyway, maybe I should just play the clip. Do I have the clip? Well, oh yeah. I do. Yeah. So let's start with that. Let me do that real quick first, and then I'll go into the description about what it was that because Dan Goldman, that freaking that shill that freaking never stops trying to never stops trying to persuade people that his ridiculously stupid ideas somehow are going to work, and that the other side is just completely evil and cruel for not listening to the Democrats more, and yada yada yada. But if there was at the bare minimum some kind of mechanism by way Congress could step in for certain aspects of incidents that just are not like the way that certain law enforcement behaves is totally correct and by the book, and they're doing things the way they're supposed to be, and then others are sympathetic to the left, and they really are over the top with how they how gentle and how hands off they are with people, even if they're being completely unruly, and it's really kind of it's really pathetic, and it's really just yet another one of Dan Goldman's grand exciting plans of making sure that the Democrats can nominate who they want for the next presidential candidate. It'll be great, but you have to jump for now for some, I don't even know what the hell that point is supposed to be about. But that was the argument in a nutshell that I was highlighting, was about the idea that that's right, it was about the ICE raids most specifically, because there was a case that was kind of controversial, and I've seen all the evidence about it so far, and it's not, to me, it's not anything that I see being anybody up in arms about or making this giant stink about, especially considering that this ending doesn't have the best. It's not, definitely not the most happy for this specific situation. It's not because I was unable to do what essentially is just a board slide down. Well, it just was not the right kind of feasible reaction to and it's not like that's a terrible idea, but anyway, the terrible idea is that, because they never talk about this part either. They never talk about the part that like, anyway, let me finish what I was talking about. There was a guy who was who got caught up in one of the ICE raids or ICE operations to I hate using the word raid because they use it with the negative stigma. That's going to be one of the important threads to the stories today, is that well, the I heard from you and Ryan, or I heard from Ryan, or I heard from this guy or that guy, or your mom, or whoever it is, and I can hear what they're saying. It's like, I can't help but think to myself, like, wait, no, none of that's right. Why are they getting so heavily invested in that? And he really, and they really try to hammer those points home. What they don't hammer home is that even in a lot of cases when, especially if like I'm never going to argue for an illegal citizen to be able to go into a gun dealership and buy a gun and just take off, because there's actually a lot of stuff I'm trying to learn how to do better with, but unfortunately it's not always what people consider to be better is it's not really clear what the intent would be, other than to make sure that as few people who are detained and potentially found to be entering under the last administration when they didn't really check for anything, or if it goes further back than that. And that's the sad part, is that there are still plenty of people where this one's a really dysfunctional setup, but one side seems to very much I'll do that, yeah. Wait, is this freaking jeez, whatever. So the idea that somebody who is going to be impartial is going to hear the case and make a decision, okay, that's fine. But if you're getting beat up and having the crap kicked out of you by people and saying, we want you to come in, but we want you to do it the right way, and if you support, you'll be far more successful, and you'll be able to see situations like this echoing before I can even, like, wow, really, man, geez, it goes back that far. Anyway, I don't know. It's such a, the judiciary is really in a bad bind, and there's way too many judges that are, once again, like law enforcement. They're just there because of their ideology, and most likely because of some DEI hiring quota or some shit. Because I don't know. It's not thinking like we're about to. It's not like these people are going to ever. Yeah. Anyway, so as you heard from the clip, it's not worth going through these bottles to see if there's any clip here that you would like to share with everybody. Clips, like, yeah, I don't know what the reason is, but regardless, you can try, but it's gonna be hard as hell. But the main problem and point, Vance basically had a new clowns, and I've been seeing this kind of thing for days. It's not. Yeah, well, it's not as important. I'm sorry. Let's start off with something a little bit more tangible, though. Let's go back to the more disturbing stuff I was going to talk about. Um, let's start with, which one should we start with? Should we start with? Damn! Strand of hair got in my eye. Let me see. Oh, and we do have something to go over with it. Well, I'll save that one. That's one of the bigger ones. There's two real big ones I want to go over today, and they're both really equally interesting for me to hear new developments on because I'm not too sure with this company, and it's like, oh, okay, and man, I can't think of what it was. Bah, it's too late now. She's already back home. Anyway, let's see. Which one would be a better story? He's military. He's not. And man, I'm drawing a blank like crazy. So wait a minute. I know what else too. I need a drink. Jeez. What was the? Let me see if I can just find the clip that I was talking about, and then we'll maybe be able to go over to the. Got that one. Okay. Hmm. 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 Well, okay. Let me pull up this video clip because this was one of the two big ones. It's not quite as I didn't know which one I was going to close on either. So, man, I'm completely. You know what I'm realizing? I was completely unorganized today, and I don't know how that happened because I've had these subjects in mind since Thursday. So it's a little strange for me, but I think. But it's. I wish I was just like kind of messing around when I was talking about um, the sort of unfortunate set of events for everyone's mental peace for a little longer. But um, hmm. Well, no, it's not. Yeah, it's a good question. Okay, so what are we? What were we going to be first looking at? It's a lot to be excited about, a lot to be really disappointed in, and then you have to. This is what's in my folder? Damn it! Here. Did it go over that program? It might have. Hmm. That's, yeah, it's true. It's pull people off screen. Hmm. this was, man, I had everything ready to go. I was ready. I was had everything planned out. I knew there was going to be some Sambient University explained, and it turns out I was right. I don't know who Sandia is. Hmm. Of course, it's, I still haven't gotten into the folder yet. Let me just do that first. I'm considering pausing and then restarting the stream once I have everything ready because, man, I had everything ready and I just, I got in and I'm drawing a blank. It's just really strange today. I know this happens before, but man, I'm telling you, I had this one, really, I was really excited for this one because I had so many good examples of everything I was talking about, but now I missed all of them. So, hold on, let me see what it is we'd be talking about, but yeah, I'm leaning more and more towards doing that because, man, this turned into a really strange setup, and I don't know what the reason is for. Let me just check this real quick because this was. I mean, I had a lot that I wanted to highlight today, and I'm just losing time by the second. And I keep noticing I have the same folder open in 3 windows. I don't know what that is either, but let's see. Yeah, I think I am going to do that real quick. Just give me just a sec. You guys don't even have to go anywhere. I'm just going to restart this same stream, same number, same everything. I'm just going to break this up into a second part and get rid of the first one after I get done with this. But for now, just sit tight for just a minute. I'm just going to reset this. So give me just a second, and I hope you don't mind if I play that intro again real quick, but hold on and let me just re-roll the opening credit. I won't even do a 5-minute countdown. I'm just gonna start off with the opening screen, rerun the intro, and then we'll start that off again. So give me just a second. Hang tight. We'll be right back on the air in just a second. So give me just a second, and we'll be back on our feet then. So.